I love the movie 300. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Hi guys. Francis Gray here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Joke a Laugh. And in today's video, we're going to be making a small miniature diorama titled Spartan's Last Stand. Ooh, very ominous. I'll see you after this. Okay guys, so all jokes aside, this is a small white metal model kit with a resin base titled Spartan's Last Stand, and it was made by Andrea Miniatures. So I believe this is quite hard to get hold of now, and they are quite expensive, especially if you find one second hand on eBay, etc. So this is a private commission. It was sent to me, and the client asked me to build it more or less as it's supposed to be, but he wants it housed on a wooden base, and he wants me to build up some bulk around it to make it all flush, to make it look like it's all one natural scene of three Spartan warriors and a dead Persian on the floor, basically just depicting the battle. So yeah, so sit back and enjoy, and I will see you at the end.
Okay, so let's have a look at the kit itself. So as you can see there, we have the resin base, and then all the main parts are made from white metal. So some of this has already been put together, so I don't know if the client did that himself or if he bought it pre-owned like on eBay and somebody else started putting this together. So there are a few bits like the scabbard there is bent. You get that usually with white metal kits anyway. They are quite hard wearing, but some of the smaller, thinner parts, they do tend to easily be bent. So that they can be prone to breakage if you keep wobbling it enough. So getting back to the kit. So here we have various little swords and spears and all the stuff that you would predict in a war. So as you can see there's the soldier that's on his last legs being held up by his Spartan friend. And then we have a main warrior there. And now we have the very, very tiny little face, and that is to the main Spartan that's on the base at the moment, the upright one. And this is obviously one of the parts to the Spartan's helmet. And then we have a random left arm there, and another part to one of the Spartans' helmets. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's more or less the kit as it was sent to me. So for the next stage, I'm going to go ahead and add all these to my trusty peg system so we don't lose anything. And then after doing that, I'm going to crack on with looking for some bases.
And here we go.
Okay guys, so I went through my base box. Yes, I have a base box. And I found this, and I think that this would fit this perfectly. So as you can see there, that is a nice, natural, lovely fit, and the only bit of overlapping is this tiny little edge here, which is no big deal. In fact, if we do it like that, it wouldn't be as bad. So maybe like this. Yep, so we're looking about that really. Okay, so for the next part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little trace line around this, and then we can add some score marks. Okay, so that looks like that is going to work really well for a nice secure base. So for the next stage, I'm going to go in with a 2-part epoxy resin, mix equal parts of A and B together, mush it all about, and then we can go ahead and sandwich the base in place.
Alright.
Okay, so now we need to go ahead and add some bulk. So in order to do that, I've mixed a little bit of play sand with some clear UV resin, and then mushed it around with an old brush that I'm not bothered about anymore. Sorry, Phil. And yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it all to fully cure, and then we'll see how that looks towards making some bulk.
6.5 hours later.
So, after a good few hours of leaving this to UV cure, we've got the beginnings of a nice base. So we need to go ahead for the next stage and add some bulk. So in order to do that, I'm just going to go in with some of this stuff, which is called wood chip repair, and it's a little bit on the thicker side.
Hey man, who you callin' thick?
And now I'm going to go in with a collection of different rocks, and we're going to add some more texture. Okay, let's leave that a good 24 hours to fully dry.
24 hours later.
So now that we've gone ahead and left this a full good 24 hours to fully cure, for the next stage we need to seal it in place. Now normally I'd go in with some PVA glue, but in this case, because we've got some pretty big rocks and a lot of pebbles, I'm just going to go in with a full tube of cheap and nasty super glue. So this can get a bit potent, so you probably want to do it in a well ventilated area.
Six hours later.
And now that the super glue's had a good 24 hours to fully cure, for the next stage I'm going to go in with some PVA glue and a old stipple brush, and I'm going to go ahead and give a top surface coat all around the base to unify it all as one, and hopefully that'll help keep these bigger rocks in place. And now that that is dried, for the next stage I'm going to go in with some black surface primer and a nice stipple brush, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to get into all nooks and crannies, and I'm going to paint all the main characters a base coat of black.
Alright.
So after being left to dry, we went in with some natural grey, and we're going to go in with a stipple thick makeup brush, and we're going to go ahead and add a first tone of a zenithal highlight.
What follows is a brief construction montage. We hope you enjoyed this brief construction montage.
Yep, I think that'll do nicely. And for the next part, I went in and did the exact same to all the other figures, as well as the two main figures on the base. That's the main Spartan and obviously the dead Persian on the floor.
A little later.
So now that the greys have plenty of time to fully cure, for the next stage we're going to go in with a light grey from Model Colour. Same again, fixed stipple brush, and we're just going to give a light highlight to all surfaces. And then what this basically does is just brings across a lot of that detail. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same with the three main figures that are separate, as well as all the extras like the weapons and the parts to the helmets, and you get the idea.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
And now that that's looking a lot more detailed, for the next stage I'm going to go back in with that black primer, and I'm going to give it a quick once over on the bottom of the base as well as underneath. So this is going to go a long way to making this black later on in the build.
Right.
And for the next part, I'm going to go in with a medium acrylic green and a thick brush, and we're going to go into all the nooks and crannies, and we're going to add some dark greenish kind of stainage to some of the rocks and some of the nooks and crannies. This is just the first step to making it look a little bit more weathered. And when that had fully dried, I then went in with some PVA glue and went over the same more or less areas, all the nooks and crannies. And then we're going to go in and we're going to carefully scatter some scenic grass scatter. And then this basically is the beginnings of what would look like foliage and moss and etc. Stuff you see in nature. And then after leaving it a good few hours to fully harden and fully dry, we can then go ahead and shake it all off. And then we can go ahead and add the excess back into the jar for a rainy day. And now in with a basic Humbrol number 61 regular flesh colour to just give a light base coat of regular flesh to all the soldiers. I'm doing the flesh first because with the heads being behind the helmets, there's quite a lot of nooks and crannies that are hard to get to. So it's easier doing these steps now than it is to add them later on. And now in with a few different shades of various watercolours, like mainly browns and greens, just to add a little bit of variation, highlight to the mossy parts. That was the green grass scatter, just to basically make it look a little bit more natural rather than just one standard version of green. And now for the next part, I'm going to go in with a off-white from Game Colour, and we're going to go ahead and use a stipple brush again, and we're going to go ahead and do a dry brush over some of the rock features, because we really need to bring some of that detail back.
Huh?
And while we have the off-white at hand, I'm going to go ahead and add a base coat of white to the dead Persian on the floor. So it's going to be, the colours are going to be more vibrant when we go to add them later on. And then when that dried, I then went in with a little bit of yellow for like a bell and the beginnings of the shoes and the shield that the dead Persian's on. And now I'm going to go in with an electric blue, and I'm going to take my time and I'm going to start mapping out like a pattern for the back of his costume. And while the electric blue is out, I might as well go ahead and add a base coat colour to the fallen warrior. And then after that, I went in with a gory red again from Game Colour, and I went ahead and added more to the Persian's logo or design on the back of his costume, as well as some of the red on the Spartans' skirt and the ruffles on the tops of the helmets. So I went ahead and did this to basically all the Spartan warriors. And now I'm going to go in with some various colours, mainly black and white. I'm going to go ahead and add some details to the main Spartan's head, and then we can go ahead and attach him with some regular super glue. And then we can do the exact same, but this time with his left arm. And while the super glue's out, I'm going to go ahead and add some other accessories to some of the other Spartans, so mainly swords and the ruffles on the tops of the helmets. And now that the Spartans are starting to come along, I'm starting to think I need to start doing some prep work on the shields. So one of the most eye-catching part of these dioramas is the intricate designs that were on quite a lot of the ancient Greek shields at the time. So I'm going to go in with some off-white, and I'm going to add a base coat colour, leave it to fully dry, and then we can go ahead and then have a look online for some reference material to see if we can find anything that we could possibly print out for a decal print off sheet. So after a bit of a Google search, I found a bunch of various different types of Greek design shields from that time period, and I went ahead and made the digital copy printable on A4 transfer paper, and yeah, I made everything so it would work a little bit better than it would just be printing off like directly from an image from Google. So I did a bit of Photoshop work on it. So now that those are ready, let's go ahead and print them out.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
Okay guys, so I went ahead and printed out 2 sheets of different various sizes, and going back to the shields themselves, now I've got one of these which is like a universal different sized circle cut out, and this second one from the right fits perfect. So I know if I cut this out onto there, the transfers should be more or less perfect. So yeah, so let's go ahead and give it a go. Okay guys, that's a decent beginning, but there's still quite a few little bumps and lumps in there. So for the next stage, I'm going to go in with some decal fix, and what this does is it basically relaxes the transfer down, so it's a lot more smoother than it would be with just like regular water. So it does work miracles, I have to admit. So I'm just going to apply it on gently with some cotton bud swabs. And yeah, and then just leave it a good few hours to fully dry.
The following day.
Okay, so now that I know that that worked, for the next stage I'm going to go in with some more designs for the other 2 shields. So for the first Spartan, I'm going to go ahead and make a nice scorpion design. So I thought that would look really cool for the shield that's on the floor. And then after that I went ahead and used one of those other intricate designs for the other shield, which I thought again would suit really well.
I said, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Yes, my friend, you are very right, something ain't right. On reflection, these snakes, even though I do like them, do not line up brilliantly. They're a little bit to the left.
To the left, to the left.
So being a bit of a perfectionist, I decided to get a nail file and decide to attack it all and scrub it all off and start again. So this time I decided to repaint it all white, again leave it to dry, and then I thought we could go ahead and use some of those white upside down V's that Spartans were very famous for having. Okay guys, we're at the halfway point roughly, and I just wanted to say if you're enjoying this video, please slap that like button, and if you want to be a really awesome viewer, why not hit the subscribe button, because you really don't want to miss out on future builds that we've got in the pipeline, and we have got some cool stuff coming up. So, back to the video. And then after applying a bunch of various different colours to the Persian's clothes, I then went in with some paint pen markers and added some intricate designs to not only the shield but also to the Persian himself as well. So for the next part now, the top part of the helmet doesn't line up with the main helmet itself. So I did a bit of research, and apparently those styles of helmet were housed with a bit of a metal rod in between, and I don't seem to have that with this kit. So I'm just going to go ahead and take an old toothpick, cut it to shape, a bit of dab of super glue on either end, stick it in place, and then I'm glad to say that that works a lot better. So now all I need to do is paint it to match the same colour as the helmet. So now that the sticker transfers on the shields are nice and dry, for the next stage I'm going to go in with a black paint detailing pen, and I'm going to take my time, and I'm going to do a triangle design going around the circumference of the shield, which quite a lot of the ancient Greek shields seem to support or seem to have. And then I went ahead and did the exact same, but with the other two shields.
No way!
And for the next part I'm going to go in with a burnt umber, and I'm going to do all the brown leathers. So that's going to be on the scare area and the scabbards and the rope that goes around the sides of them. For the next part I decided to go ahead and seal the paintwork that I've done so far, and I went in with the airbrush and some regular matte varnish from Vallejo, and then just took me time to get into all the nooks and crannies of all the characters, all the parts, and then leave that good probably hour to fully dry, and then we can crack on with the next stage. And talking about next stages, for this stage we're going to go in with a gloss coat from Humbrol, and we're going to apply it to all the shields, and then that'll make these look a lot more metallic. And now for the next part I'm going to go in with some watered down, red watercolour, and I'm going to apply it to all of the flesh parts, and then I'm going to go in with a little bit of water on a Q-tip, and then gently go over the excess, and then that goes a long way to adding shadage in amongst all of the darker recesses, which really makes the regular flesh colour a lot more realistic. And while the watercolour's out, I decided to go ahead and do the exact same, but this time with the black watercolour, and it's going to go over all of the clothes, helmet, shields, weapons, basically to make everything look like it's dirtier, and these guys have been to hell and back over the last couple of days, rather than them all being like shiny and new. Okay, so for the next part I'm going to go in with some just regular silver from Model Air, and what we're going to do is we're going to try and recreate some scratches, because obviously these guys have seen some action over the last couple of days. So in order to do that, I'm going to go in with just a bit of silver and then a sharp scalpel, and then run the scalpel through the paint, and then just make some regular scratch marks on all the shields, and that should mimic damage.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to go in with a red paint pen. Now this thing is absolutely brilliant for mimicking scratches and a little bit of blood, especially on miniature figures like this. Highly recommend it, it's fantastic. So no much skill involved. It's literally just look around your character, look for any parts that might look like it needs damaging or some scratches might have naturally occurred, and then yeah, just go ahead and apply it and just let it run a little bit, and yeah, you're good to go. And then I done the exact same but with a purple paint pen, and this time I'm going to go over some areas that look like there might be bruises. So mainly on the knuckles where they've obviously been fighting and punching people, and then the odd bruise where they've obviously been like clashing up against each other, etc. Yeah, works fantastic. And then I went in with a glorious gold and a cocktail stick, and then added some details, mainly to like the scabbard areas, but also to some like the sword hilts and just some of the little delicate stuff that's hard to get in with the brush. Okay guys, so for the next stage I need to go ahead and add this fella into the arms, or arm in this case, of this Spartan here. So yeah, there's a tiny little hole there, which is where his wrist is supposed to fit into. And then I suppose I should just put some glue on the bottom of this sandal and then try and make him sit natural somewhere. So in order to glue him, I'm just going to go in with regular standard super glue. Okay guys, that seems to fit quite well. So I'll go ahead and leave that. So for the next part I'm going to try and glue this Spartan in place. Now there is a peg hole here, and obviously there's a peg on his foot here. So that's supposed to line up there, and I believe there's supposed to be a peg back here for him for this back foot to go into. But I'm not too sure if it actually wants to line up. Okay, it's going to be a tight squeeze. So yeah, let's go in with some super glue. Okay, I'm just going to go in with some of this fast set. And then last but not least, there's this guy, and I believe this foot is supposed to go into this peg. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's how it's supposed to look. So, same again, super glue. Okay, that seems to be okay for now. We'll leave that a couple of moments to dry, and then there's a few areas, like there's a bit of a gap under this foot here, so we will have to try and model around that. So I think I'm gonna have to use some Abe's epoxy for that. So yeah.
5 minutes later.
Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've mixed a tiny bit of Abe's epoxy modelling clay, and we're going to go ahead and fill in some of these gaps. Okay, so while we go ahead and leave all this Abe's epoxy to dry, now the only parts I have left is I've got 2 spears. I believe one spear is supposed to go on the base somewhere, and I believe this bigger spear is supposed to go in the Spartan's hand right here. So I'm hoping the hole in his hand is wide enough for me to get the head of that spear through. Okay, that was a very tight fit. As good as we're going to get that. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of super glue.
Soon after.
Okay, so what to do with this one? So I suppose this is pretty empty back here, isn't it? So it will be a little bit hidden away, but it will be a nice detail to see when you turn it around. So yeah, probably that's probably going to be the best, isn't it? Okay, so a few little touch up fiddly bits left to do. So for the next stage, while all this is drying, I'm going to go in and I'm going to give this a nice gloss black. Okay, so the very final thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to mix some gory red from Game Colour with a little bit with gloss varnish to make some artificial blood. Yep, that'll do lovely. So I'm just going to go ahead and add the fake blood to the ends of the swords, spears, etc. just to get across a little bit of detail that these guys have obviously been to hell and back. And then, yeah, then leave that to dry, and then I believe we're finished.
This is where we hold them! This is where we fight! This is where they die! And these shields, boys!
Yeah, my favourite part is where King Leonidas kicks that guy in the hole. Hi guys. So yeah, so our model's finished. Hope you've liked it. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please slap that like button and share on Facebook and Twitter, and yeah, really would appreciate your help. Don't forget to subscribe because we're near the 2,000 subscribers limit, or mark if you like, and then the next goal after that is 3,000, so I can only get there with your help, so any help is greatly appreciated. If you haven't already, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future builds. And if you want to be a really awesome viewer, please take 5 minutes to check out my Patreon page, where with your help and a bit of support we can do these videos full time rather than the odd one part time. So basically way more work for me and more videos for you. So yeah, so nothing else to say really, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments, comment below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And yeah, see you in the next one.
If you like the content that I'm making, you'd like to support my work, here is a few links in the description, but only if you can afford it, and thanks for watching. See you in the next one.